Alright, what's going on, guys? Gdoggcasey here, bringing you another StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm cast. This one is going to be a little bit of an older match, I think. I'm really not sure. We'll get into that in a bit, though. But first, let's introduce our hero, the Yellow Terran player who sent me this replay. He is from Team Bearsloss, I believe, and his name is EATMYDICTION. And his opponent, up in the top right corner, another Terran player, spawning as the Red Terran. His name is Fatal. We're going to be doing a TVT here on Derelict Watcher. Now, I mentioned that I think this is an older replay because of the fact that it's on Derelict Watcher. I'm not sure. This could have been a custom game, maybe, on this map. But either way, we don't have to rely too much on that. We are going to be casting at TVT, which is probably the matchup that I know the least about. But it's also the one that I know has the most intricacies. Like, so many different openings can do so much different types of damage, so we're going to be learning a little bit as we watch this game. Both players opening up with a supply depot on the ramp. To be expected. I guess the main thing we're looking for is to see if it's a barracks or gas first, and both players going for the barracks first here. So that generally means that there's not going to be too much early, like super early shenanigans that a gas first can get you. But while we wait for things to sort of develop in this game, guys, this is going to be a Gold League matchup, which I should be letting you guys know beforehand. In the last cast, I actually forgot. So if you were wondering, that Chimera versus Repub game was actually a Diamond level game. This one's going to be a Gold level game. And if you want me to cast your replays, then make sure you send me an email with a replay included and a little bit of information. Don't spoil the replay, but give me a little bit of information as to why it's worth casting, and send it to gdoggcasey SC2 at gmail.com, and I'll get around to casting your games for sure. I don't really have any restrictions, and the one thing I want to make sure is that it's not like a tournament game that was, that was played in a specific tournament that may be casted elsewhere. I'm really more interested in interesting ladder games or, custom games that you play with your teammates, that kind of thing. I'm more than open to cast those. But yeah, just try not to send me any sort of tournament-style games that may have already been casted elsewhere. I'm not trying to steal replays from other people. And it looks like both players are going to be making a Reaper. I like this. Wow, the Fatal dropping a massively early command center. This is incredibly ballsy. I noticed that EATMYDICTION is saving up some money too. Is he going to be making a command center? We'll have to see. EATMYDICTION being very generous here, allowing that SCV to live. And both Reapers are going to meet in the middle of the map. He's actually on move command. This Reaper, oh, nice juke there through the fog of war. That was actually what's going to probably save this Reaper's life, because he took a couple really early shots here. Running all the way back home, trying to get within the protection of his main base. And it looks like he's going to be able to do that for now as Fatal lets him escape. He'll regenerate that health relatively quickly, and he is following it up with a little bit of a later command center here. And here we go, the fight in the middle of the map. This Reaper has to retreat. He doesn't want to pick a fight he's going to lose. If he loses this Reaper, things are going to look bad for him. And I like that this SCV is here to sort of tank a little bit of the damage. EATMYDICTION might be able to pick it off, doing some damage. The SCVs do not repair quite as easily. And actually, wow, EATMYDICTION with the micro actually going to be taking that fight, killing the Reaper and the SCV. That was really well done. And now that he has a Reaper out of the field and Fatal does not, I don't believe anyway. Nope. So that's going to be really good for EATMYDICTION, as he's going to be able to go ahead and scout with this Reaper and possibly get into the main base. Marines are put in a pretty well defensible position though, as the Reaper's going to try to get in here. Going to see the command center. He doesn't want to be shooting this. Yeah, there we go. Sees the command center, sees another barracks and a starport, and everything is looking all nice and good. Basically on the same level as himself, although there is an extra barracks in production. Tech lab on this factory here as well. So we are indeed going to be seeing tanks coming out of Fatal. And I like that. Whenever I play TVT, I tend to always just stick with a Marine tank style of play, and I think it's pretty good. We'll see. But we are not seeing that coming out of EATMYDICTION. It looks like he is going to be focusing on a bio play. I think we're going to be seeing some more barracks coming down. Engineering bay already in production here. And we're seeing the same type of thing coming out of Fatal on the other side of the map, although he's getting a tech lab on his starport, and he's getting cloaked. So this is going to be a bit of a delayed cloak Banshee attack coming out of Fatal. This this Reaper is going to be spotting the command center, lowering over here. Might even be able to block it for a minute if he really wanted to get in there. But I think he's mostly just interested on when Fatal decides to land it. So yeah, that's what we're going to be seeing here. Landing the command center, immediately going to be shooting it a little bit. And, oh, he's got to be careful. Jumping right into tank and marine fire there is EATMYDICTION's Reaper, and finally that Reaper goes down. He was a hero, though. He did a really good job out in the middle of the map against his opponent's Reaper. And yeah, I mean, it looks like we're going into a full-out bio play. Actually swapping the, or getting Tech Lab on his own factory, so he'll be able to get his own tanks, is EATMYDICTION. And right now the income is doing very well here for EATMYDICTION. Even though his command center went down a little bit later, he managed to keep pressure on Fatal with just one Reaper while he landed his command center and got an economy going nice and early. Banshee is going to be moving out here. And it's timed pretty nicely with Cloak. Are there any missile turrets in position? Actually, there are not. The engineering bay is complete, so missile turrets can be built, but nothing in position yet. So this Banshee might be able to get a little bit of damage done. We shall see. Lots of production happening here. More barracks going down as both players are trying to get the production facilities they need. Finally, a turret's going down over here. This Banshee needs to get in there and take that out. And here we go. Going to be picking off the first SCV building that turret. And yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a futile attempt here to try to drop down turrets this quickly. So this Banshee is going to be able to get a lot of damage done. But meanwhile, there's a drop moving out for EATMYDICTION. This Banshee is looking for potholes, looking to try to pick off as much as he can. Just going to be hammering away at that barracks for now. Scanning the lower ramp here, might be able to realize that there's really not much of an army there, and might realize that a drop is coming in. These Marines are going to try to take out this Banshee, which has Cloak. Finally, it does Cloak. And here comes EATMYDICTION's drop, which is being delayed now because he's trying to take out this Banshee. Unable to do so still. Oh, right there, the Marines pop out and take that out, so nicely done. That scan actually does pay off, and finally those SCVs can get back to work. And that means that EATMYDICTION can focus on this drop over here, but there's enough units here to be able to clean this up. I think a few workers went down. Yeah, maybe 4 workers were killed in that little drop, and EATMYDICTION ends up losing everything except the medevac, which is going to boost on home. So a little bit of trading back and forth, not a lot of worker damage getting done, and EATMYDICTION still has a massive economy lead here. Although for some reason, oh god, the workers are not mining efficiently at all. This is actually pretty terrible for EATMYDICTION. The placement of this turret is just in an awful position, and you can't really blame him for that. I think if it was just moved like a little bit more up here, things would be going a little bit better, but a lot of these SCVs having trouble mining efficiently. But everything is getting back to normal now, and once these minerals mine out, things will become a little bit easier. So both players just macroing up now after the initial harass. So we saw, you know, how things can vary. We saw a Cloak Banshee attack after an expansion, and we saw a drop attack after an expansion. And both, because they happened after the expansions and enough bio units were able to get out in position, both players weren't really able to do massive amounts of damage. We do see an extra factory going down for Fatal. And do we see that for EATMYDICTION? No, we don't. But we do see an extra engineering bay. And that's going to allow him to... ooh, that money scan. I'm not sure if it noticed that units were getting picked up or not, but we'll have to see. Both players scanning back and forth. Lots of tanks and even a couple Banshees out on the field for Fatal. And I like this tank style play from Fatal because I think that he's going to be really hard to break. Really focusing on getting those tanks out. And he's even getting a second starport as well. So this is sort of like a mix between a bio and mech play with lots of tanks and Banshees and Marines to sort of help out there. This drop is going to be a double drop moving out across the map, but there are so many tanks here that I really feel that this is going to be pretty easy to defend unless Fatal does what he's doing right now and moves out and gets himself in trouble by being out of position. Very well could happen. Not sure what's going on here with this drop. He's actually just spotting the watchtower, just dropping off a Marine to keep an eye out, and Fatal is moving out. Now there's a lot of defense here. 2 tanks sieged up on the low ground. Might even be able to get a tank sieged up out here if his macro was on point, but he's actually been hit with a pretty heavy supply block here. But this drop is going to land, and there's nothing here to defend except for a handful of Marines and a tank that's actually moving to the wrong position here. So in comes this drop. Right on the mineral line. So many SCVs are going to be going down here. We need a response coming from Fatal. 1 tank actually spawns right at the perfect time and is going to be able to siege up and get some damage done. Overall, though, a lot of SCVs going down. Up to 16 worker kills for EATMYDICTION. And he just barely makes it out in time with his medevacs. And actually forces a bit of a hesitation with Fatal's army. EATMYDICTION also taking a 3rd base here. So really well planned out. Against Fatal while he's doing a drop attack. Going to be able to scan himself there by accident, I think. Going to be able to get a 3rd base up and running. Here comes Fatal's attack. He's dropping a scan and realizing there's a ton of bio here. Going to send a Cloak Banshee in to sort of whittle away at this. I'd like to see him focus the tank instead. But the good thing about this is he's spotting for his tanks down on the low ground. So the tanks are going ham here on the bio and actually wiping out everything that EATMYDICTION has at home, except for these tanks. This is a really well thought out attack from Fatal. Finally, scan going down, going to force this Banshee away. But Fatal just dropping Marines all over his tanks. Up here, the drop is going to try to get some extra damage done. Going to get hammered by that tank. Eventually going to be able to take it out, I think. But yeah, this is going to be cleaned up from Fatal. And EATMYDICTION is really taking a lot of damage here. Lost a lot of his bio. But so did Fatal, so no actual economic damage going down. And that means that things are going to be a little bit better for EATMYDICTION here, as he still has that 3rd base. Finally scanning, taking out that Banshee. Going to drop a tank on top of a tank. Yo, dog, I heard you like tanks, so let's drop some tanks on your tanks. And 2 Marines are like, yo, screw this. Let's go be best friends and move on out of here and go somewhere else. This 3rd base is really the game changer right now for EATMYDICTION, because even if he does lose some bio and lose some tanks, he's going to be able to replenish much faster. A little bit of oversaturation on both bases, so I'd like to see him take like about 5 seconds and move some of those SCVs over to the 3rd base and really power up his economy. He can like get so much going here if that's what he decided to do. The 3rd base for Fatal is moving out, going to be getting into position. And let's take a look at upgrades here. Right now, +1/+1 is finished for, or actually only +1 attack finished for EATMYDICTION. +2 attack and +1 armor finished for Fatal, as well as +3 attack and +2 armor coming through. So Fatal has a pretty massive upgrade advantage here. So EATMYDICTION's going to have to be careful. He's going to want to get some cost-efficient trades with these tanks and get some nice position, or nice concaves on his enemy. And Fatal moving out for another similar attack. This medevac has a bunch of Marines in it. Hopefully doesn't get caught out of position here, because it is leading the way. It looks like EATMYDICTION has sensed that something is up and actually dropping a scan, seeing the tanks there. And here we go. EATMYDICTION needs to siege up his tanks here if he wants to take this engagement. Tanks do siege up. Marines and medevacs moving forward. And this is going to be a nice little battle here. Both players have the same amount of tanks sieged up. Oh, a couple medevacs going down for EATMYDICTION. That's a bit of a misrally. Couple Marauders loaded up in this medevac here. A very weak medevac. And both players looking like they're going to try to pull their opponent apart. But EATMYDICTION spots this drop and immediately takes it out. Nicely done. And this is sort of the main part of this game right now. These drops moving out for EATMYDICTION. Got to be so careful with that weak medevac. Is going to get the Marauders dropped off though, but it's all for naught as the Marines here just stim up and take everything out. So a bit of a mistake there from EATMYDICTION. But again, he can afford to make these mistakes since he's got so many SCVs over here. And he is floating so much money. Really like to see him drop like 6 more barracks here to help reinforce this. But even though Fatal has the upgrade advantage, EATMYDICTION finds a moment here where he's able to break on through. Marauders really helping out, and the tanks are sieging up much closer here, but that was a bit of a mistake, I think, because we can see so many of Fatal's tanks getting off pot shots on these tanks and actually just killing all of EATMYDICTION's tanks. So strong siege positioning here from from Fatal as he's streaming more and more Marines across the map to try to help reinforce his tanks. I think Fatal has a much better position here in the middle of the map. And all EATMYDICTION has to do to rectify this issue he's having... Oh, the drop. Not going to work, man. You can't drop medevacs over a bunch of Sim Marines. That's just not going to do it. And Fatal has been microing this this center battle very, very well. All EATMYDICTION has to do in order to fix this situation is just make a ton of barracks back at home. If he can make like 6 to 10 barracks, because he can afford it, he can reinforce so much faster here. He's floating so much money, and he's up almost double the workers. And yeah, this is a scrappy fight for sure. But he just can't spend his minerals or his gas because he's got no production facilities. He's making another command center over here, which is a good idea because he's got the money, but I'd like to see him make some more barracks really fast. He'd be able to do so much more damage here. Because right now, things are looking really good for Fatal as he's spending his money a little bit better, and he's got a much stronger hold on the center position. Drops catching each other, and it looks like Fatal is going to move to try to intercept this drop. He really doesn't have enough Marines to kill this, though, even if they stim. And that means Fatal's going to have to move a lot of his army to go defend his third base. Here comes EATMYDICTION with a drop at the third base, evacuating all the SCVs, killing off all these turrets. But Fatal is standing strong here in the middle of the map, not overreacting to this, although he is possibly underreacting to it because it looks like he's going to lose this third base. And that is deadly. Very nice play here from EATMYDICTION, taking out the third base. Okay, he's got to take out the third base. There we go. Third base goes down. Fatal responding now, but he's kind of late. Like, even if he cleans this up, which he most likely will, he's lost way too much to make this a worthwhile trade. And there you have it. It does eventually end up getting cleaned up. Fatal still has a massive army in the middle of the map. And I swear to God, if EATMYDICTION made, like, all the barracks I keep saying that he should make, he would be in such a better position here. He'd be able to max out super fast. He's already almost maxed out, though. His economy now kicking in as he's making more siege tanks, more marauders, and more Marines here. But this is still a strong defense here for Fatal. He's got the middle of the map nicely sieged up. EATMYDICTION's going to have to find a way around that. I think he wants to focus on just dropping around the place like he's already been doing as another third command center moves on out here for Fatal. We'll see, because you can't really attack into this even with a superior army. And here we go, Fatal stimming in to the tank fire. This is a bit of a mistake, I think, as Fatal has a nice setup here as well. Or sorry, EATMYDICTION has a nice setup, and Fatal moves right into the siege tank fire, but then EATMYDICTION does the same thing and moves into Fatal's tanks. And as mentioned before, this is an incredibly scrappy game. The center of the map has been home to many exciting battles here, as these tanks are just doing a really good job. I love this, scanning to try to get some extra tank fire off, and it has been working. But almost all of Fatal's bio is finished, and with EATMYDICTION just sacrificing a lot of his bio, these tanks are still going to be okay, but things are looking scarier and scarier for Fatal, I think. It's really all about how does EATMYDICTION crack this siege tank lineup. And if it was me, I think I would just move around it, to be honest, because you can't really attack without any bio. Although the bio is coming in here. And take another look at the upgrades. 3-2 for Fatal to EATMYDICTION's 1-1. So his bio units are going to be much stronger. Using a medevac to spot out for his tanks here. Getting a lot of free shots off on these Marines. And all of EATMYDICTION's bio dies once again. He's still got a little bit of a backup here. Oh, guys, please do not be sending drops over Stim Marines. That's just a wonderful way to donate to your opponent. Third base up and mining nicely, but EATMYDICTION has bases all over the place. Huge oversaturation on all of them too, but you know, that's okay. At least the minerals are coming in. So again, I think we're waiting to see which player is going to sort of load up a drop. I think EATMYDICTION has, with all these extra medevacs, he has the most potential. We can see another drop coming in, and again, just stimming up and murdering it. That's really not what you want to be doing. If you want to be spotting for your tanks, get some Vikings out instead. Imagine what like 6 to 8 Vikings would do for Fatal here, as he can pop out these medevacs and spot for his tanks at the same time. But it looks like Fatal choosing not to go that route. Finally, +2/+2 coming through for EATMYDICTION, and this upgrade lead is going to start sort of closing off. Both players scanning at identical times. And I think Fatal coming out on top. So Fatal's defense here in the middle of the map has been incredibly strong. His siege tanks are placed wonderfully here. He's even got backup over here. But the overall macro and economy for EATMYDICTION has been way too much for Fatal to really overcome. Eventually he's going to start running out of money, as he's going to be looking to be mining off of only one base. Another bit of an engagement coming here. Medevac spotting for EATMYDICTION, and he's starting to whittle this away. He's got so much money in the bank here, and really not making the production facilities, or even using the production facilities now to make use of it. As mentioned before, this is a Gold League game, so this is the type of thing you'll see in the Gold League, as EATMYDICTION has he has what it takes in order to completely steamroll his opponent here, but he's just not really making use of it. These extra bases, though, have been absolutely amazing for him. So many SCVs mining here. And I think eventually this is going to end up being a little bit too much for Fatal to sustain, because you can see he's already absolutely broke. He doesn't have any minerals, as he's only mining off this one base. Finally, getting some SCVs over here to this top one, and he's going to be able to sustain a little bit more. This is what you want to do with this drop. Move it around to force EATMYDICTION to respond to it, and it looks like he's doing that. Going to be dropping over here, and there are so many SCVs here that could take some damage. Oh, look at how many SCVs are mining from these single patches. Another battle going down in the middle of the map. EATMYDICTION popping off some of these tanks here. Eventually he's going to break free. These Marines are finally going to town. They're going to kill off a ton of SCVs. So many SCVs going down here. And EATMYDICTION having some problems with his mouse, I think, but losing all these SCVs. And this base is forced to lift off. Luckily for EATMYDICTION, he has a huge bank, so losing these SCVs is not going to be as bad as it would be in a in a different situation. But we can see here with the second base mining over here, still not mining to its fullest potential, but able to sustain a little bit more tanks here in the middle of the map. That drop does get cleaned off. I hear scans going off all over the place, just spotting again. EATMYDICTION really trying to take out some of these tanks, but he's not really trading efficiently. He is transitioning into Vikings, though, and this is awesome. As a drop from Fatal tries to get some work done. That was a better situation to do that in, because there's not as much bio here. So nice play from Fatal. And we're just waiting and waiting until something huge happens here. There are so many siege tanks here for EATMYDICTION that, I mean, it's pretty apparent that I think he's going to end up coming out on top here. But it's all about when he makes that big engagement. Finally, Fatal adding in some extra Vikings as well. And we'll see. There's a little contingent of Marines and SCVs over here. Going to try to get some extra mining done. These guys are going to go see if they can get some damage done. I mean, there's like no defense at any of these bases. We have another engagement in the middle of the map. Again, just trading blows back and forth. Bio going to be able to pick off that medevac. And we're still just waiting. This is TVT for you, especially Marine tank battles like this can really go this way on a regular basis. Fatal looking like he's going to drop on this base, and like I said, there's no defense here, so this is a really good move from Fatal. If he can get some SCV kills over here, this would go really well for him. He's got to stim up I think that scan was a mistake. He's going to get in here and get a lot of SCV kills, but EATMYDICTION just says, alright, screw it. He moves all the tanks forward, moves all his bio forward, gets all his tanks sieged up, and this is actually a really good engagement for him. Meanwhile, losing all the SCVs over here on this side of the map, which is a nice play from Fatal, but there's only one siege tank left here. If EATMYDICTION can figure that out, he can actually capitalize on this. Nice job here from Fatal, dropping all over the siege tanks, trying to whittle that number down as well. Using the Vikings to spot for his single tank, and it looks like this is going to get cleaned up over here. But he actually lost the entire base, so very nice pickup from Fatal, trying to bring himself back into it. But after losing so many tanks in the middle of the map here, things are just not looking very good for him. Nice tank fire there, though. And these Vikings are doing a good job picking off that Banshee and spotting for the tanks, but EATMYDICTION finds an isolated tank over here on the right side. And I mean, the macro has been pretty good for Fatal. I'd say overall that Fatal has the better macro, the better ability to spend his money, but EATMYDICTION has the better ability to, you know, grab an economy and actually have all of that money to work with. But right now you can see his economy has been just shattered here. He's only mining off of one base now, as he lost the command center over here. But he has this huge bank. He's got absolutely zero gas mining, really cannot make anything else. Why is that? He ran out of gas in both bases in his main, and he's not mining gas at this third base over here. So he cannot make any more tanks, any more Banshees, any more Medevacs, any more Vikings. It's strictly just Marines now for EATMYDICTION. Take a look at the upgrades to find out where we're at. We still have a 1 attack upgrade advantage for Fatal. And we got drops going everywhere. Fatal going to try to send a drop over here to try to catch this command center. But meanwhile, there's a double drop over here for EATMYDICTION. So this one's going to land first. It's going to stop this expansion from actually being able to land and kill all the extra SCVs here. He might even be able to pick off the command center. Oh, EATMYDICTION has to be so careful here. He just wants to get around those turrets. Doesn't want to take too much damage from them. Does look like he's going to manage to do so. Dropping in a poor position here. Forcing an evacuation, though, does get out of the way of the turrets. And actually managed to clean up this drop over here. So, nicely done. If he can pick off this command center, that would be absolutely huge. He does force a liftoff, but the tanks and Marines here for Fatal are going to be enough to actually force this back. Lots of SCVs going down, though. Don't lose those Medevacs. You have no gas, man. You cannot afford to lose any gas units right now. Really needs to drop down a couple gases here. There we go. I just saw that gas going down. Realizing now, he's like, shit, I have no gas at all. Making command centers all over the place. And this game has just been the scrappiest of TVTs that I've seen in a long time. Oh, don't do that! You're going to lose your whole drop! These players, like Fatal, really not learning from his mistakes here, dropping over stimmed bio over and over again, just donating Medevacs full of units. This tank line is incredibly strong, but the Vikings for Fatal are spotting for his own tanks. So, I mean, all he has to do is just leapfrog a couple of these tanks over, and he's going to be able to get an advantage in this tank battle in the middle of the map. And we can see here Fatal grabbing a supply advantage, because he's been able to spend his money just a little bit better than EATMYDICTION has. But EATMYDICTION has the positioning advantage here, and he has the economy, as I mentioned before. He's not slacking on command centers, which Fatal has been. Fatal has the ability to make command centers all over the map here, but he just hasn't really been doing that. Finally, some gas income coming in for EATMYDICTION here. He needs to get extra SCVs in these gas geysers so he can make some more tanks and whatever else he wants to make. This is just ridiculous. There's enough bio here to stop these Vikings from just sort of parking right over the tanks. So, unable to do so yet, but the more and more Vikings that show up here for Fatal, the harder this is going to be for EATMYDICTION. Scans going down, trying to get some tank shots off. And yeah, like, I mean, the positioning here is better for EATMYDICTION. He's getting more tank shots off than Fatal is. Medevacs over here. Lost and forgotten. This base is starting to mine out now. This base only has mules mining from it. Whoop. And these Vikings are really trying their best to spot for Fatal, but the bio is able to force him back. More and more tanks. I mean, we've been having this battle since like the 10-minute mark, I feel like. It's been going on for at least 20 minutes, so maybe the 20-minute mark. And these Vikings are piling up here for Fatal, but he's not able to get close enough with his tanks. He needs to bring some of these tanks just a little bit closer. There we go. This one is going to do well, as it's going to be able to get some shots off, I believe. Oh, it's so close. Just not close enough for this tank. So it's going to have to get a little bit closer even than that. And Fatal's trying. He's really trying to work his way closer, but he's scared to get too close. Finally, this tank gets close, and it's actually doing damage to one of the tanks here. Able to take that out. Forcing the bio to respond to the Vikings, and that's what happens. Your backup tanks just murder the bio. So if these Marines move too close, they're going to get picked off by these tanks. And Fatal is actually doing a good job here, sort of dictating this battle in the middle of the map. Continuing to reinforce with Marines, but we got the same thing coming out of EATMYDICTION. And EATMYDICTION's looking like he's had enough of this like center battle, trying to move around the map. He's got units over here protecting against drops. And wow, this game is just going on and on. This is a long, long TVT as more and more Vikings reinforcing for for Fatal here. Looks like EATMYDICTION is scouting out for some extra bases, and he's going to be here a little too early. But actually, there's no defense except for turrets here, so if he keeps moving down, he can actually do damage to this command center over here. The Vikings are really paying off here for Fatal. Slowly but surely, he's whittling down the tank count of EATMYDICTION. There are two more in... Uh-oh, don't do that, Fatal. No! Oh my god! How many times do you have to do that before you realize it's not a good idea? I mean, I'm not trying to like BM the players here, but that's just silly. You got Vikings for that very thing. So use your Vikings, don't just donate. Finally, some damage getting put on this command center over here at the top, and this is a very nice pickup from EATMYDICTION. As he's picking off SCVs, picking off command centers, and forcing a reaction out of Fatal. He's actually going to pick up a lot of his units here in the middle of the map to come respond to this. Eventually going to get cleaned up, but losing that command center is pretty heavy for Fatal. And I think, I don't know, I'm not a Terran player. I think there's enough bio here to just stim up, but I could be totally wrong about that, so I'm not going to suggest one or the other. Forcing a lot of the units here, and SCVs as well, to respond to just a small little attack here. Nicely done from EATMYDICTION. And it looks like he's going to try to do the same thing here. I really like this. Realizing that that was a profitable move, he's going to go ahead and move to the other side of the map, I think, with these units. These Vikings really not paying for themselves right now. Yeah, here we go. Moving the tanks a little bit closer. Going to be able to kill even more tanks from EATMYDICTION. This is working out really well. Fatal is taking control over the middle of the map here, but EATMYDICTION is taking control over the sides of the map, and actually almost all of the tanks for EATMYDICTION going to be taken out here. And all this bio. Wow, the Vikings really paying off here, killing almost everything that EATMYDICTION had in the middle of the map. I don't know why that keeps happening when I try to scroll the map. It just sort of shoots over to the left or the right, trying to figure out what's going on with that. But this little army here has gone unnoticed from Fatal. Submarines trying to get on top of these tanks, but it's just not working out. This is really, really coming down to the wire here. Do not forget about these units. Here we go. Going to be moving on. Now, this base is completely mined out, though, so it's not really going to be that good of a pickup, although grabbing all those SCVs will be pretty nice. And probably forcing Fatal to respond here. Yeah, he's picking up some tanks and Vikings and moving on over this way. Able to pick off that command center. These tanks need to be careful. Bio needs to support your tanks. One of them goes down, and that's incredibly costly. Your bio is taking out missile turrets. You want to be taking out the army that's trying to kill all your tanks. Finally, getting into a better position here. Might be able to pick off some tanks here. Trying to stim, get it right on top of them. Taking out one tank is pretty good. But Fatal has really taken control over the middle of the map here, and these Vikings have been the reason for that. But with this bank that EATMYDICTION has banked up the entire game, he's actually still able to make Marines and Marauders, and he's getting out a couple more Banshees as well. Has completely forgotten about these medevacs over here. Still mining over here. This base is getting mined out. This one is mined out, so the economy really dipping for both players here. Need to get into these gas geysers so you can afford your Banshees and your tanks. EATMYDICTION trying to pick off some of these Vikings, and here we go, stimming onto the tanks here. Actually more than enough bio to take out all of the tanks in the middle of the map. And that was a huge pickup for EATMYDICTION. He's going to try to stim and chase down these Vikings. Not going to be able to do so. And we got a little bit of a split here. EATMYDICTION looking like he's going to be getting a little bit of the better of it. Nope, the stim from the Marines up here. Going to be a little bit too much, but 2 tanks going down to just a small amount of Marines. Very well done. And things are getting, like they mentioned that things were scrappy before. Indeed, they are incredibly scrappy as both of these players struggling to keep their economy up. EATMYDICTION though, with some drop mules over here and fully saturating this base, going to be able to get up a nice economy here for a little while before he mines out that base as well. Now this tank and these Marines here are actually going to be really good in this instance because they're going to be able to counter any sort of attack that Fatal tries to do. Again, stimming up, jumping on an opportunity to pick off some tanks here, but losing his own tanks in return. But overall, that was a definite good trade here for EATMYDICTION. He's going to try to get onto these tanks, and with the Banshee in support, this is going to be really good. Able to clean up all the tanks in the middle of the map, and now EATMYDICTION is looking like he's in a wonderful spot here. He's got a ton of bio compared to that of Fatal. In fact, his army supply is double that of Fatal. And Fatal's quote-unquote fatal mistake here is his inability to keep command centers going all over the map. And that's why EATMYDICTION is able to take such good trades here. I mean, even if he loses all his bio, he's got the income, at least for now, to make more. Whereas Fatal is just about mined out here, and he's going to be mining on 0 bases. Looking like now he's thinking about moving this command center probably over here, but that's going to take so long to get over there. Misrallied medevac going down in the middle of the map. Everything that you lose at this point, if you're Fatal, is incredibly cost inefficient because he cannot afford to remake these units. He can't be just making medevacs. He's got no minerals. He's got no gas income. As soon as he makes 5 more medevacs, he's not going to be able to make anymore. So he's really got to be careful with his units. Marines going out here to scout out extra expansions. I really like this idea, and it looks like he is going to get there early once again. Oh, he's just taking the watchtower. Okay, well, fair enough. Fatal managing to buy some time to get a bit more units out here and make things look a little bit closer than they actually are. We'll see. He's picking up a dropship. Does not want to fly over the bio. And it looks like he's coming over here. The bio over here is picking up this command center. This is absolutely huge. This is the last command center, besides this one, that Fatal even has. And there's the GG. That's all it took in order for EATMYDICTION to close out this game. Wow, that was a long TVT. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Casting these type of matchups are something that I'm not very good at, so I apologize if I wasn't really able to sort of keep up with things as well as I should. But the more of these type of games that I cast, the better I'll get at it. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you, EATMYDICTION, for sending in that game. That was definitely an amazing TVT to watch. And I hope you learned something from it, because I think there was a few mistakes that were made, but simple fixes. You know, if you would have made like 10 barracks, then you would have been able to spend all your money and you would have been able to steamroll Fatal from the start. And if Fatal would have made more command centers, he would have been able to survive longer into this game. But anyway, thanks very much, guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Remember, if you have any replays, send them to me at gdoggcasey SC2 at gmail.com, and I'll get to them. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys later.